In 2013, Marshawn Lynch was the most feared running back on earth and the most wanted man in every corporate boardroom in America. Nike wanted him. McDonald's wanted him. Pepsi wanted him. They all came with life-changing money. He said no to every single one, not because he was crazy, not because he was difficult, because he understood one thing about money that took most people a lifetime to learn. The most expensive thing you can ever sell is yourself. But here is what nobody tells you. Lynch did not just say no, he built something instead. While every corporation was trying to buy his name, Lynch was quietly turning that same name into an empire they could never touch. No middlemen, no agents, no fine print designed to own him. Just beast mode, his rules, his brand, his terms. And today, the corporations that once called him unemployable are the same ones paying him triple to be exactly who he always was. In this video, we are going to show you exactly how Marshawn Lynch did what no financial advisor, no sports agent, and no business school ever teaches. How to turn the word no into the most powerful business decision of your life. Marshawn Lynch did not grow up watching the NFL. He grew up watching his family survive it. Oakland, California. 1986, one of the most economically brutal neighborhoods in America, where money came hard, left fast, and the people who had it rarely kept it long. Lynch watched that pattern from the time he could walk. He watched talented people get paid and then get taken. He watched men work their entire lives building something, only to look up one day and realize someone else owned it. That image never left him. Most kids growing up in Oakland dreamed of escaping. Lynch dreamed of something different. He dreamed of never being owned by anyone. By the time he reached the NFL, Lynch had already developed something most athletes spend their entire careers trying to find: a relationship with money that was completely free of ego. He did not need money to feel important. He did not need money to feel validated. He needed money to do one thing only: stay free. And that single obsession, that one burning need to remain completely untouchable, is what made every decision that followed not just logical, but inevitable. See, and most NFL players enter the league and immediately become a product. Their face on a cereal box, their name on a jersey, their image in a commercial for something they have never used and never believed in. And the machine that runs all of it, the agents, the marketers, the corporate deal makers, they are extraordinarily good at one thing: making athletes feel like saying yes is the only rational choice. Lynch never felt that pressure. And because Lynch had already decided something in Oakland, long before any corporation ever came calling, that his name was the only thing in the world that was completely his, and he was never, under any circumstances, going to let anyone else put a price on it. By 2012, Marshawn Lynch was not just an NFL player, he was a phenomenon. The beast mode run in the 2011 playoffs against the Saints had over 40 million views. Brands were not just interested, they were desperate. Nike came first, full signature shoe line, global campaign, $10 million guaranteed. The kind of deal that changes a family's financial situation for 3 generations. Lynch's representation brought it to him with barely contained excitement. Lynch asked for the contract, read every single page, every clause, every subclause, every footnote. And then he asked one question that stopped the entire room cold. He said, "Who owns beast mode after I sign this?" The answer was buried on page 34, in language designed specifically to be unreadable. Nike did, not the name Marshawn Lynch, not his face or his image in isolation. Beast mode, the identity he had built from nothing, the 2 words that meant everything to everyone who knew him, would belong to a corporation in Oregon, forever. Lynch closed the contract, set it down on the table, and said, "I appreciate you coming. No anger, no drama, no negotiation, just a man who had made a decision in Oakland 20 years earlier and was simply staying true to it." McDonald's came next, $15 million for a 3-year campaign. Lynch read the contract, found the same architecture buried in different language: image rights, likeness approval, brand alignment clauses that would require him to live in a way that a corporation approved of. Said no. Pepsi came with 20 million, same answer. By this point, Lynch's agent had stopped trying to change his mind, part because he had finally understood something about his client that took most people years to see. Marshawn Lynch was not being difficult. Marshawn Lynch was being precise. He understood something about the architecture of these deals that most athletes never discovered until it was too late. When a corporation buys your image, they are not buying a photograph. They are buying the right to define who you are to the entire world for as long as that contract runs. And once they own that definition, you no longer get to decide what Marshawn Lynch means. They do. Lynch had watched that happen to athletes his entire life. The ones who signed everything, who became so synonymous with a brand that when the contract ended, nobody remembered who they were without it. He refused to become that. Not for 10 million, not for 20 million, not for any number anyone could put on a piece of paper. Because Lynch understood the most dangerous clause in any endorsement contract is not the one about money, it is the one about identity. And his identity was the one thing he had decided in Oakland was never for sale. Here is what the world got wrong about Marshawn Lynch. They thought the no was a story. It was not. The no was just the door. What Lynch built on the other side of that door is the story nobody ever told. See, while every sports commentator in America was debating whether Lynch had made a catastrophic financial mistake, Lynch was already 3 moves ahead. He had watched the corporations come. He had studied exactly what they wanted, and he had realized something that changed everything. They did not want Marshawn Lynch the person. They wanted beast mode the feeling, the rawness, the power, the absolute refusal to be anything other than completely himself. That feeling was worth more than any contract they had ever put on the table, because feelings cannot be manufactured. They cannot be focus grouped. They cannot be created in a marketing department by people who have never set foot on a football field. They can only be owned by the person who created them, and Lynch owned it completely. So in 2014, while most athletes were signing everything in sight, Lynch quietly filed the trademark for beast mode. His name, his terms, his price. No corporation owned it. No agent controlled it. No contract buried in fine print could ever take it from him. Beast mode belonged to exactly one person on Earth, and that person had grown up in Oakland, watching talented people get paid and then get taken. He was not going to be taken. Not now. Not ever. The Beast Mode store launched with almost zero marketing budget, no celebrity endorsements, no multi-million-dollar launch campaign, no corporate partnership, just Lynch. And the people who had watched him run through 11 defenders in the most iconic playoff run in NFL history. The store sold out in 48 hours, not because of a marketing strategy, because of trust. Lynch had spent his entire career being exactly who he was, and the people who watched him play trusted that completely. That trust, built over years of refusing to be anything other than himself, was worth more than every endorsement deal he had ever rejected, combined. Because corporations can buy an image. They cannot buy trust. Trust has to be earned, one honest decision at a time. And Lynch had been making honest decisions since Oakland. By 2015, the corporations that had called Lynch unemployable were calling him again, but something had fundamentally changed. This time, Lynch was not sitting across the table as the talent. He was sitting across the table as the owner. Beast Mode was no longer just a nickname. It was a registered trademark, a clothing line generating millions annually, a brand with more authentic cultural credibility than anything Nike's marketing department could manufacture. And Lynch had built every single piece of it on his own terms. The conversations were different now because the power in the room was different. Before, corporations came to Lynch with contracts designed to own him. Now, Lynch came to corporations with terms designed to protect him. The fine print that was once a trap was now a weapon he knew how to use. He negotiated licensing deals instead of endorsement deals. The difference sounds small. It is not. An endorsement deal sells your identity to a corporation. A licensing deal rents your brand to a corporation for a fixed time at a fixed rate with your identity completely intact. Lynch never sold Beast Mode. He rented it, and when the rental period ended, Beast Mode came home. Every single time. By the time Lynch retired from the NFL in 2019, Beast Mode Inc. was generating revenue that dwarfed what most of those original endorsement deals would have paid. Not because Lynch got lucky, not because the market shifted in his favor, but because Lynch had understood something in 2012 that most athletes do not learn until it is too late. The moment you sell your name, you stop being a person and start being a product. Marshawn Lynch refused to become a product, even when the entire world told him that was the only rational choice. And the world was wrong. But here is the part of this story that nobody ever talks about. The part that goes far beyond football, far beyond endorsement deals, far beyond Beast Mode merchandise. Lynch went back to Oakland, the same streets that taught him everything, and he started investing. Not in stocks, not in funds, not in the financial instruments that agents and advisors push on every athlete the moment they sign their first contract. He invested in Oakland itself, restaurants, small businesses, community spaces, places that created jobs for people who looked exactly like the version of himself, that had grown up watching talented people get paid and then get taken. He was not going to let that happen to Oakland, in the same way he had not let it happen to himself. And that, more than the Beast Mode store, more than the rejected Nike deal, more than every no he ever said to every corporation that came to his door, that is the decision that defines Marshawn Lynch. Not what he refused to sell, but what he chose to build, with the freedom that refusal gave him. Let me tell you something about Marshawn Lynch that the highlight reels will never show you. The Beast Mode run against the Saints in 2011. 9 defenders, broken tackles, the most watched playoff run in NFL history. The entire world saw a football player that day. Lynch saw something completely different. He saw proof. Proof that what he had and could not be bought, could not be manufactured, could not be replicated by any corporation, with any amount of money, on any contract, on any table, in any boardroom, in the world. Because what Lynch had was not athleticism. Every NFL player has athleticism. What Lynch had was an identity so complete, so fully formed, so absolutely his own, that 9 defenders could not stop it, and $50 million could not buy it. Think about that for one moment. Well, the NFL's most physically dominant players get stopped every week. But Lynch, in the most important game of his career, ran through the entire defensive line of a Super Bowl caliber team on pure will, pure identity, pure refusal to be anything other than completely himself. That is not a football story. That is a life story, wearing shoulder pads. And the corporations watching that run understood something in that moment that Lynch had understood since Oakland. You cannot put a price on a man who already knows exactly who he is. They tried anyway. Lynch said no and built something they could never own. Here is what I want you to understand. This story is not about football. It is not about Beast Mode merchandise. It is not about rejected Nike deals or trademark filings or licensing agreements. What it is about one question is that every single person watching this video will face at some point in their life, not on a football field, not in an NFL boardroom, but in a moment, quiet and personal, when someone offers you something significant in exchange for something that feels like nothing, but is actually everything: your time, your values, your name, your identity, who you are, when nobody is offering you anything. Marshawn Lynch faced that question with $10 million on the table, and he answered it the same way he answered 9 defenders, with complete, absolute, unstoppable refusal to become anything other than himself. The question is not whether Lynch was right. The numbers answered that already. The question is, when your moment comes, and it will come, will you read the fine print or will you sign? Marshawn Lynch retired from the NFL in 2019. No farewell tour, no emotional press conference, no tearful goodbye to the game that made him famous. He walked away, the same way he walked into every corporate meeting that tried to buy him, quietly, on his own terms. Beast Mode Inc. continues to generate revenue. The Oakland investments continue to grow. The communities he chose to invest in, instead of the corporations that chose to invest in him, continue to employ people who grew up the same way he did, watching talented people get paid and then get taken. Lynch made sure they would not be taken, the same way he made sure he would not be taken. And the corporations? They found other athletes to sign. Athletes who did not read the fine print. Athletes who confused the size of the check with the value of what they were giving away. Well, some of those athletes are wealthy today, some are not, but almost none of them have what Marshawn Lynch has, a name that belongs completely to him, a community that exists because of him, and a legacy that no contract could ever have purchased. Because Lynch understood something that this video has been building toward from the very first second. The most successful people in the world are not the ones who said yes to everything. They are the ones who knew exactly what to say no to. Lynch knew, and now, so do you. If this story changed the way you think about your own name, your own identity, your own version of the fine print that life puts in front of you, then do one thing before you leave. Subscribe to Cleats Off, because every single week, we find the story behind the story, the decision nobody talked about. And the moment that changed everything, that the highlight reels always cut before, Lynch's story is one of 8 we are telling this year, and every single one of them will make you see the world slightly differently than you did before you press play. The next one is already waiting for you.